we are talking about something unique, something very, very fascinating, that is the new science of death. And let me tell you, this understanding can completely change our perception, can help us overcome the fear of death, and so many things may come in. And this is going to be a scientific understanding about what new science is trying to tell us. Is death the end, or it's just a transition process to another dimension? And this is based on some of the fascinating research that has happened in the past few years. And I'm sure all of us, we are going to learn something. And not just that, that learning will change our internal perception about our life and death. Hello and welcome everyone. Namaste and lovely to see you again, connect with you all. Just give me a quick thumbs up about my audio, and if you can see me on your screen, just let me know about that. If everything is good, just let me know that audio and video all are good. Just if you can share that. All okay, thank you very much. I can see Kaili Garg ji, I can see Dibya Ranjan ji, I can see many others who are there, Manju ji and Pintu Santra ji. Welcome everyone. Lovely to have your presence. And today, as I mentioned, this is going to be a fascinating subject to delve into. This week, as we are going into different aspects of what we call the parapsychology, a psychology which is not explained, not been understood completely, but now with the advent of new technology, with the understanding of new facets of science, we are entering into a very unusual terrain. Science of consciousness and death, life, we'll see from that perspective. Again, welcome everyone. Let's proceed, let's move on. How this is going to be giving us something unusually fascinating. The question which comes here, are we immortal? Probably that's the question which is being asked, and which is trying, or it's under the scope of answer. Still we have not found anything clear, but now some of the evidences, they suggest probably yes, death is not the end of everything. It's probably the start point of another kind of dimension where we continue living. How I'm saying this? You need to go through the entire session, be there, and I'm going to give you evidences, few of the things which have been found out in the last about 50-60 years through research, which is so compelling that mainstream science has to take it up. And accordingly, a new domain of science, the science of consciousness, has emerged, and very fascinating research is happening in that dimension. Are you all very excited to go about it? Right? Excited to go. ETG. All of us, are you excited to know about this and excited to go for this journey together in this live session? Just write that, ETG. Excited to go about this, understand this, because this is related to every one of us. All of us, we are scared of death. We are so much affected when somebody dies. So definitely this is something which is going to change the way human beings are behaving. It's going to change the way we approach our life. Now, maybe our priorities would change once this fascinating field of science gets to its maturity. So let's all understand this, look towards this, and find out what it is offering us. This says, do you continue to live in some other form even after death? Do you have something which continues to live? When we look at our own ancient cultures, anywhere in the world, you'll find, yes, every tradition, every religion has got something to do with something goes on. It's not the end of everything. It doesn't complete there. It's not the complete conclusion of a life. Probably something goes on. And that's been the basis of religion, basis of many of the philosophies. And today science is trying to delve into that field and trying to find out. We'll talk about few of them and which are the different places where it is happening. There are many hundreds now, but few of the institutions which I'll be referring to is one, Division of Perceptual Studies in the University of Virginia in USA, one, Institution of Noetic Science, or IONS as it is known as, at Petaluma in California, which was set up by a very interesting person who was an astronaut, Edgar Mitchell, who was in the Apollo 14, and when he was coming back to planet Earth, he had an unusual experience. He terms it as an experience of ecstasy, an experience of enlightenment. After reaching back, he chose to establish this, to explore into the domain of science beyond material, science beyond body and mind. And it's been doing exceptionally well. Many of the things are happening, research is happening in this place as well, and there are many more. I'm not going to read out all of them, but these two definitely are doing extraordinary job, and many places across the world now scientific research is happening about few things which we'll be discussing maybe in this week. Things like near death experience, one of the compelling evidence that we exist beyond our death. Past life memory, where Division of Perceptual Study is doing something fascinating. They have done more than 50 years of research in this space, finding some of the experiences, some of the research papers, compelling stories which science cannot deny. So these are happening in the last 50-60 years, and many other things are happening in this reincarnation or past life. There are evidences of clairvoyance, people hearing things, telepathy, knowing things as if they are hearing from a distant place. All these are now under the research domain. They're trying to figure out what is it that is happening, because these are happening with a very high frequency. Many people are now sharing these evidences, especially with the new social media and other things happening. People have compelling stories, and these are now surfacing. So science has got more data to validate these. Let's look at them. Few of them we'll be discussing today, and looking at how they are very strongly directing towards something goes on beyond death. And once we understand the reality of this, we probably had a tremendous experience of life, because we would not be as scared, afraid of the end of life as we are today. Probably our priorities would change, not money, not other things. Maybe we'll be more spiritually oriented. There is a chance that human race is probably change its priority very soon with these understanding. Let's look at few of such compelling evidences and understand how this can tell us a huge story. This is the first story I would like to narrate. This was by DOPS, Division of Perceptual Studies, which were established in 1967 by Ian Stevenson. And Stevenson was he was motivated by one Indian story, an Indian case. I will narrate that after this. That compelled Ian Stevenson to get into the field of research into the domain of past life memory. And what is the best thing that was found out was, now with 50 years of research, 6 years now, it started in 1967. In 2017, there was a conference by this DOPS, Division of Perceptual Studies of University of Virginia, where many scientists, researchers, they gathered there, and UVA, Division of Perceptual Studies, they presented thousands of cases of reincarnation, thousands of cases where people have shared their experience of past life. Many are there. One of the most recent ones, which happened very recently in last 20 years, 1998. This boy, his name was John Leninger. John Leninger, he was born in the US, and suddenly he started talking about his past life, saying that I am someone who is a pilot, I am now fighting a war, and then He cried that I'm dying, help me, save me, help me, save me. He was uttering a typical name. Imagine at the age of 2. And he then drew certain pictures which are very compelling for the parents. They were scared. What is happening to this child? They then contacted many of the psychologists, psychotherapists, and at that point in time, this gentleman, Jim Talker was head of DOPS at that time. He came to research the entire thing, what is happening. And they got into the details of this. And it was so powerful. This boy could narrate the details of the war scene, where the plane crashed, who was the co-pilot, what was his earlier family. And then they went to that place to identify, did something similar happen? Exactly the thing had happened. Exactly all these things could be verified. They went to the previous birth gentleman. The name of this gentleman was, this gentleman who we can see here, he was James Houston. James Houston was the pilot who died. They went to the family, and astonishingly, there were almost all the details were matching. So this compelled many of them to write this story of soul survivor, and this is not the only one that DOPS has unearthed. There are more than 2,500 closed cases, meaning they had gone to the past life evidence collection and found that the evidence are so compelling, so matching, you just cannot ignore it. And I was going through that particular conference, almost like 2 hours of recording, where the scientists were saying, how now can the mainstream, so-called mainstream science, now many of the mainstream scientists are in this, how they can deny these facts. These are evidences collected, documented, and completely scientifically studied. So how this can be ignored? And once we are finding this, we are changing the way we are living our life. It's not just that I'm living this life through my body and death and everything is over. So I'm just planning, all of us, we are planning our life till we are alive. We are planning our life with people who are around us. But there are different dimensions. That's what many of the research is indicating towards. Are we also planning for that? Are we planning for our next generation, next journey? That's what is the new dimension probably humanity would unearth and look towards. And that would be a fascinating time of this race of humanity. Probably we are elevating, we are evolving, understanding the reality of true nature of our soul through these things. As I mentioned, this is not just one case. In fact, the story which compelled, which motivated Ian Stevenson to come up with DOPS, established DOPS, Division of Perceptual Studies in the US, was this. This story was probably the most elaborate, documented, researched story or researched case of reincarnation. Story of Shanti Devi, and this book also is there, I Have Lived Before. And this story was it started in 1926, and in 1935, at the age of 9, this girl, Shanti Devi, claimed that she had lived a life before as Lugdi Devi in Mathura. She was at that time in Delhi, and this created some kind of unusual skepticism. But the claim was such that even at that time a commission was set up, and the committee members of that commission, they went to check what is the veracity of this claim, and what they found was absolutely unbelievable. This 9-year-old girl could guide them to the earlier residence of hers. And she said, I died during the birth of my child, my son. And imagine the 9-year-old girl is saying, I have a son and I died when that son was born. They went to the place. They found actually the mother of that child was dead. And that child was 11 years older than this girl. and she identified husband, others and others. This story actually attracted so much of attraction internationally that many of the scientists, psychologists of that time, they flew to India to check, because normally West is very, very skeptic about this, and it's a healthy thing to be. So they started investigating into this. Ian Stevenson was one of them. He came, interviewed this girl, and he was so much moved by the evidences suggested by this lady and other documentation. He said, I need to investigate more into this field of reincarnation, and perceptual studies also include near-death experiences, out-of-body experiences, clairvoyance, and many of the things like telepathy and things where consciousness and intelligence stay beyond the physical body. The conventional materialistic science suggests consciousness is an emergent property of our brain. That means our brain gives rise to intelligence, and that intelligence, that consciousness, helps us to live. Whereas another form of thought, which is now one of the mainstream, it is called the survivalist hypothesis, which says the body and the other structure is just an instrument like a mobile phone, but that's that much. It's actually channelizing some intelligence which is there, pervasive everywhere. And that particular hypothesis is getting a lot of attraction now, lot of traction from scientific community, because that seems to be more compelling than this emergent theory of materialistic scientists. Even quantum mechanics was ridiculed when it came into existence. And now that quantum mechanics is running the show. Everything that we see, computing to GPS to all the modern things, are because of quantum mechanics. Even at the earlier part, the Newtonian scientists, the classical scientists, they said this is a false and useless claim. Later on, it became the mainstream science. Now this era, it happened in 20th century. 21st century is boldly moving towards the science of consciousness. Probably it's going to change the way we are living our life. And this is one of the evidences, Shanti Devi case, and many more, which are propelling, motivating these studies to happen. And past life remembrance. Now some of the techniques of the ancient cultures, especially the Yoga Sutras, some of the ancient traditions, they say through certain processes you can recall your past memories, like the Akashic records. There are many more such things. Probably they are also getting a lot of prominence, because through contemplative science we probably can remember things which are not otherwise remembered by the materialistic physical body and mind. But we can probably switch our attention to those aspects and get a sense of who we are really. Have we lived many lives, and are we going to live many more? Probably that's true. Probably it's now coming out with a lot of strong evidence. Now that's one of the aspects which we discuss to support this survivalist hypothesis. Now the next one, is it something, is it something that really fascinating to come out of? What is your idea about this? What is you feel? What you are thinking about this? Is it going to change the way we are living our life? So greedy, so selfish are we now? Does it make a dent in that? Is it going to change the way we are living? And is it going to make a brilliant change in the life of human beings? And I trust, it's my belief that yes, this is likely to change the way we are living. In fact, we need to change now, probably to appreciate it more and more. And that's what is happening. If you are also with me, just write agree. You agree with me that this fascinating science, when it is unfolding, something completely different. It's a radical change in the standpoint that we had. Our standpoint was survival. Now the standpoint would be beyond death survival. It's survivalist, not the body, not the mind, not some physicality. It's going beyond that. If we all agree with this, it is going to change the way human beings are living. Far more than what we are. We are thinking ourselves to be limited. That limitedness would be replaced by infinitude of the soul. That's what I trust. Many of you have mentioned agree, and agree. Let this happen. Let human beings realize we are not just this limited body mind, and this is going to transform the way we are living and transform this center of power. It's not the people who are having most control, most money. It's going to be the people who are most spiritual are going to rule the world. That's what I trust, strongly feel, because our nature is not materialistic, it is spiritualistic. The more and more we understand that essential aspect of ours, we are going to thrive. Absolutely. There are disagreement. Yes, absolutely. There will be disagreement, and healthy disagreement. And disagreement is always welcome, because unless we disagree, science would not be science. Science would always be something which is partial, because it has to have skepticism, but healthy skepticism with openness. When we see that, science would flourish and consciousness will evolve. Disagreement was at the highest level when quantum mechanics came into existence, and that's possible. That it's going to thrive in the time to come. Brilliant, lovely. Now moving further, one more aspect, one more evidence of consciousness living beyond physicality is this. It's a book by the name of Proof of Heaven by he's a doctor, Ibn Alexander. He was a neurosurgeon who died, and he was declared dead, brain dead. He was almost like nobody thought that he would come back to life. He came back to life with some unusual kind of experience, and that experience also had mysticism, because the doctors and scientists, they could not explain how this could be a possibility. Because Ibn Alexander, when his brain was completely dead, and after he came back to life, he narrated incidents happening in that hall, in that surgery room. He also narrated experiences beyond the surgery room, what his wife was doing, what his child was doing, what others were doing, where were they, what was the conversation, and it could be checked, because some of them were recorded also. How this could be a possibility still could not be explained, and this was not one case. Now there are millions of cases. As it is said, about 5% of the US death cases are claiming near-death experiences, which are having consistency, which are having some of the elements which are very difficult to explain through scientific logic. But definitely they have some truth, because they are giving some claim, giving some evidence which cannot be refuted by any logic. There are many. Another book which is also very, very interesting, by an Indian origin lady in the US, who had cancer, almost on the verge of death. Anita Mujrani, who was almost like she was declared dead, and there was no chance of survival for her. She had a near-death experience, and inexplicably there was a spontaneous remission of her cancer. After that near-death experience, unusually her cancer completely vanished, and this evidence, this record is there, and is also been written in that book. So there are evidences, but these are only few cases. As I said, millions of cases in the US, and worldwide it is even more. Many of the traditions, it is far more than the US cases. Somewhere it is more than 14%. And it's worldwide. It's not limited to any geography or any religion or any belief system. It's happening all across the globe. Near-death experiences cases. So These are few things which we discussed. Now, hard science. Dr. Sam Parnia. Dr. Sam Parnia is a heart surgeon, and now he is looking into existence of consciousness, existence of intelligence beyond death. And he has written these fascinating books, Erasing Death and What Happens When We Die. And let me tell you, he's absolutely not a believer. He's somebody who is a hardcore materialistic scientist. He's a doctor who is a surgeon, and he's checking people who are dying and again they are reviving after many processes. What is happening in the intervening period to the consciousness? Are they existing? If they are existing, where this consciousness is parked? What is happening to it? Is it something that is there and we are not knowing it? And these two books and many of his research paper are creating ripples in the scientific community, because he's saying certain cases people are dying and they are coming back to life after 6 to 7 hours of time. What is happening to consciousness? Because brain dead, nothing you can sense in the body. What is happening to them? And that's what is an exploration as scientist by Dr. Sam Parnia, and he has recorded hundreds and thousands of cases, especially those cases where heart stroke has happened, people died, and by some mysterious manner they have come back. He has documented them and put them into scientific journals. And these are in coma, maybe not just in coma, they are brain dead, and certain cases they are even absolutely no kind of evidence which can suggest that they were there. And the most important, interesting thing is they are saying something during that span of near death. And what they're saying is consistent. They're sharing some unusual powers, like they're saying what happened at a distant place. So what is this? What is this happening in our life? Is there something beyond? We will explore more into this field this very week, looking at, is there some evidence? Is there something that we can do to elevate our consciousness to a level? Are there processes through which probably we can have a peek into this? What is happening actually beyond the body, beyond the mind? What now probably many of the scientists and most of the ancient philosophers and present philosophers are saying, probably this is a game by nature. It's creating so much of interesting things around. We are forgetting our real nature and getting caught up in the so-called reality which is not real. It is a projected reality, but the actual reality we are forgetting, and that's a design. People who want to come out of it and live the life to the fullest need to find that true essence of who we are really. Now my question is, how our approach to life and how our behavior will change once these things surface more and more. And if you liked the session as of now, as we continue a little more, if you like the session as of now, please feel free to like this video right away. Like the video if you liked the session as we have discussed. And if you have not subscribed and want to know more about these things, want to get the notification, please subscribe and hit the notification so that all our live session, all our sessions which will be uploaded, recorded sessions, will be coming to you on time. And I would also urge, if you find this is important, please do share with others as well, and visit for more detail many of the other different videos that are there in the channel. So yeah, just mention what is your idea, what is it that you feel would change. Are you feeling this as a positive change? Mention that it's a positive change. It's a positive change that's going to happen as we are coming through. One more aspect I would like to share here, that one is the exploration into the field of this reality. Two is the practice to achieve this through inner processes, which is also getting momentum, gaining momentum. Many of the scientific steps, processes, eminent figure people, very important scientific researchers, science researchers, they are now entering into this field with a purpose. The purpose is, if this is true, how we can make it happen in our life. How is it a possibility in our life? And interestingly, many of the ancient practices, they are giving some kind of clue. And based on those clues, based on those inputs, now few more research is happening. One domain of research is contemplative neuroscience, wherein now neuroscientists are trying to study what has happened to the meditators, because in meditation they have found something exceptional happening. People are healing themselves, they are knowing something beyond the perceptions, beyond the senses, they are having intuitions, they are having some kind of internal power through which they are communicating with some other beings. And these things, what is the process? And these processes are also being researched. Little unusual to think about research on meditation, because this very land has given processes of meditation which are so in-depth researched and documented. We can just jump in, start processing them, start practicing them, start appreciating them, start getting the power through those practices. It's not just meditation. There are many processes, systematic processes. Probably we'll come up with some of them, how with these practices we can achieve extraordinary powers within. That's what will be our exploration as we continue this journey this week. I would urge all of you to please do join in live, give me that energy, give me that love, so that I also can continue, carry through, do the research, bring it to you, and also do practices with deeper intention to make good all around, to bring in that positive feeling all around. Let's all pledge that let's make life holistic. Just write holistic and positive. Let's make happiness as the prevailing thing. Happiness and holistic. Let's make it prevailing happiness all around. It's a possibility if we can elevate our consciousness, overcome the challenges, overcome conflict, overcome the unnecessary vibrations, and elevate our frequency to that level where we can achieve extraordinary success in life and spread happiness all around. Holistic happiness, wonderful. Holistic and positive change, brilliant. Let's make it our journey. Let's make it a movement and spread further. Thank you very much. May God bless all of us. Let's connect again tomorrow at 8 p.m. with one more fascinating area of exploration. Thank you. God bless.